It wasn't the worst trip of the season for the Blue Jays, but 0 for 3 in Boston and 1 for 4 in Texas leaves little to say beyond that. And it doesn't get easier at home. Here come the Yankees for 4. They're the American League East division leaders. And the Twins are in town too. They're in the thick of the Central. The beauty of baseball is you never know what you're going to see on any given night, so stay tuned because somebody might do something special. And after one lonely victory on that trip, the Blue Jays sure could use a little good news. Tough to ask, though, because here come the New York Yankees, 37 games above 500 and dominating the division right now. So the task for Ricky Romero is to try and beat New York. He'll look for win number 12 tonight, and you'll see it on Rogers Sportsnet. Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jamie Campbell with Rance Mullenix. And Rance, how do you characterize that road trip?
Not very good. It was a long and a rough one for the Toronto Blue Jays. They won just one ball game on the trip. That was Monday night in Texas. Here you get a look at the numbers. In Boston and in Texas, they were out-pitched. They were out-hit. The numbers don't lie. They tell the story. It was a long, tough road trip. Hopefully, they'll play some good baseball here starting tonight against the Yankees.
Well, it's not going to get easier because the Yankees are cruising. Now, it's not like they're going to see someone like A.J. Burnett or C.C. Sabathia in the opener. This is Chad Gaudin getting the start tonight. And he goes up against Ricky Romero, who's having a fine first season in the big leagues.
Yes, he is. Quickly establishing himself as one of the best young left-handers in baseball. Go back to June 21st. Since that time, 8-3 record. One of the best. The only two better are Feldman and Sabathia, so he's in some elite company.
With more on tonight's ball game, let's go downstairs and find the third member of our broadcast team. Here is Sam Cosentino.
Jimmy, the Blue Jays are catching the Yankees at the most inopportune time. New York has won 6 straight in which they have outscored their opponent 47-14, not to mention the fact that they are 30-14 against left-handed starters. That's the best in Major League Baseball.
Big-time power when the Yankees are around, and bigger crowds, too. People coming up from the States to see the Blue Jays and Yankees. Tonight, the first pitch is coming your way very soon here on Rogers Sportsnet. home to the comforts of the Rogers Center. And when they got here, they were greeted by the New York Yankees, who rolled into town for a 4-game series. And the Yankees have every right to feel good about themselves right now. They are absolutely cruising after sweeping away the Baltimore Orioles with a 10-2 victory in yesterday's ball game. They'll go up against the Blue Jays tonight and send this lineup with Derek Jeter leading off. And look at his average right now, .332. He is among a host of power hitting New York Yankees. The Yankees right now have 6 different men in their lineup who have hit at least 20 home runs, and by the end of the year could easily have 8. Alex Rodriguez among them. He has really made an impact on this team after spending the first month away. Johnny Damon now with a career high in home runs. He's got 24. So the Yankees, whether it's at home at the new stadium or on the road, have dominated the division so far. And as they enter play tonight, they find themselves sitting 7.5 up on the Boston Red Sox, and no Yankee team in history has ever blown a 6-game lead. So certainly the Yankees right now are well positioned. They've been getting good pitching, good hitting, good defense, good ball team all along, and they'll be providing stiff opposition for the Blue Jays tonight. Ricky Romero will take the hill, and he's fresh off a start on Saturday in Boston. When he really survived, he took the loss, and his record fell to 11-6. But he managed to go 5 1/3 against the Boston Red Sox, a team that has really given him all kinds of trouble this year. In fact, if you take away his starts against the Red Sox, his record is 11-3 with a 3.24 ERA. It seems Boston's given him trouble. Tonight, though, he'll face the New York Yankees. And Romero continues to have a very promising rookie season. He makes his 23rd start and sits tied for second among rookies with 11 victories. Cito Gaston was saying earlier today that the second half of this year, the team just has not received the right hit at the right time. Early on, when they jumped out to that 3.5-game lead in the division, around the middle of May, it seems everybody was making a contribution, and the clutch hits were there. That seems to be the one thing, Rance Mulliniks, that has been absent now for about 3 months.
It has, and when it went away, it's like it has never come back to the ball club, and they really have struggled. If you go back to the last road trip, there are 2 games, Friday, Saturday. If they could get a big hit in a key situation, and in a few situations just put the ball in play, they could have won 2 of those games. Then they go down to Texas, same thing, needed a big hit, couldn't get it, had several opportunities. The result, they won 1 ball game in 4 in Texas.
Here are the head-to-head numbers against the New York Yankees this year, and compounding the problem, Rance, in Texas was the fact that they couldn't pick up the baseball. There were a lot of defensive errors that led to Texas runs, and the Rangers ended up winning 3 of 4.
Yes, and after the Monday night ball game, going into the doubleheader, a concern that I had for the ball club is, you know, the first game's going to start at 4 o'clock. That's a different time. Your body, you know, your system's not ready for 4 o'clock. You're ready for 1 or 7. And the concern was, do they come out flat? I thought in the doubleheader on Tuesday night, they were very, very flat, played with no emotion. I think that's what led to some shoddy play.
All right, Ricky Romero then set to make his 23rd start of the year. He's 1-0 in 2 starts against the New York Yankees, and here's his scouting report.
Very good fastball that will touch 93. And sharp overhand curveball and a very good change. I think key this evening for Ricky Romero is to control his emotions. At times he gets a little hyped up. It's a big game tonight against these Yankees. When he does that, he starts to overthrow and he loses command. Keep the emotions under control this evening. Defensively for the Jays this evening, to be Lynn, Wells, and Snyder in the outfield, Bautista at third, Scudero at short, Hill at second, Overbay at first, and Chavez does the catching. And, of course, Ricky Romero on the mound this evening for the Jays. Lyle Overbay doesn't get enough credit for the type of defense that he plays at first base. He's an outstanding defensive first baseman, and having been a former infielder, it is always nice to have a first baseman over there that you know can dig you out, pick you up once in a while, save you an error. Lyle Overbay, just 2 errors on the season. He has been outstanding defensively.
There's Scott Berry. He tips his cap to the Blue Jay dugout. He'll be behind home plate. Jeff Nelson at first, Tim Tashida at second, and Bob Davidson works third as the Yankees and Blue Jays are set to go in a 4-game series here at the Rogers Center in Toronto. Here's the kick from 24-year-old Ricky Romero, and it's time to play ball in Toronto as Derek Jeter takes strike one. Jeter, one of several Yankees having a fine year. As he awaits the 0-1, here it is, and it's chopped back to Romero. From the other side of the mound, he throws to first and gets Jeter on 2 pitches. That brings up Johnny Damon, who has clearly taken advantage of the new dimensions at the ballpark in New York. 24 home runs for Damon. That ties his career high. What a luxury, Rance, for Joe Girardi to have so many guys in his starting 9 every day that have power, guys with 20 home run power.
As you mentioned, Jamie, they're probably, no doubt, going to establish a new major league record. By the time this season's over with, they're going to have 8 guys in this lineup with 20-plus home runs. But not only are they hitting for power, but if you go down the line and look at these batting averages, Jeter 332, excuse me, Damon 293. You got a ball club here that can really hit also. They're just not sluggers.
There's a wave and a miss from Damon. And so it's a ball and 2 strikes here on the number 2 hitter, just underway from the Rogers Center in Toronto.
And for the most part, they do a nice job also of making you throw strikes or get them out in the strike zone. So these are complete hitters up and down this lineup.
The Yankees at 85 victories and 48 losses have the best record right now in the major leagues, and are straight up sizzling since the All-Star break. They're 34-11. As you look at Romero, in a pair of starts against the Yankees this year, he's 1-0, and this ball is sent foul. The challenge for Romero is to defeat a team that plays well against left-handed pitching. The Yankees are 30-14 against left-handed starters this year. And on the 2-2, it's rolled foul. Goodness, I mean, we haven't even managed 2 outs in this ball game, and statistically it seems like as if the Yankees should just be handed this ball game. They've got all these power hitters. They're doing so well against left-handed pitching. They're running away with the division. But that's why we play the game, says Romero. Kicks on the 2-2.
The best closer, excuse me, Jamie, the best closer in baseball. He's blown 1 save all year.
Although he's not available, certainly for tonight and quite likely for this series. And we speak of Mariano Rivera, who's come down with a minor groin injury. Romero with the payoff pitch, and that's high and inside. The appeal down to third says that Damon didn't go around, so he draws a walk with 1 out.
And this has been a little bit of a problem lately for this Blue Jay staff, as they get ahead in the count with a hitter. 2 strikes, you get 1-2, 2-2, and they haven't been able to consistently finish them off. And it's led to oftentimes the base on balls. And it's a situation, you got Johnny Damon, you want to make him put the ball in play, earn his way aboard. This is a lineup that you can ill afford to walk really anyone in this lineup unless you're just pitching around them, because they just have too much depth, too many weapons.
Teixeira takes a strike.
You know one of the reasons here, you got to look at, since 2007, Teixeira among switch hitters leads the pack with 95 home runs. But one of the reasons why this Yankee ball club is so good against left-handers.
There's a base hit to center field. And Teixeira pushes Damon up to second.
Is the fact that you go down through the lineup. Of course, Jeter's right-handed hitter. Rodriguez a right-handed hitter. But Teixeira switch hitter, Posada switch hitter, Nick Swisher, and Cabrera switch hitters. So, you know, a left-handed pitching, because of all of that switch hitting that you have in the lineup, really, it's a ball club, again, with just great balance.
And Rance, a lot of people thought at the beginning of the year that the Yankees were just too old to compete. As much as they went out and got Sabathia and Burnett and upgraded their pitching, they figured guys like Damon and Jeter and Posada were getting on in years, and that they just couldn't hang with the young legs of the Boston Red Sox. But here they are, 7.5 up, as Alex Rodriguez steps in, and he takes ball one inside. Quite an achievement for Rodriguez in that Baltimore series, as he managed career hit number 2,500. And the Yankees were without A-Rod for a month and change. And while he was away, he had right hip surgery during spring training. He had to spend about a month rehabilitating that, and did so in Colorado. While he was away, they went 13-15. He came back in May, hit a home run on the first pitch he saw, and now they're 37 games above 500. So clearly he's had an impact, as Romero deals the 1-1, and that's high.
And Ricky Romero needs to keep in mind, use that changeup here tonight. Right here you have a 2-1 count. It's a fastball count. Rodriguez has not seen the changeup. Be a good time to go to it. Maybe catch him out front on the end of the bat, get a double play ball. And that looked like a pretty good pitch. But Romero did not get the call. You could tell by his reaction. He thought he had strike two. And that looked like it may have been a changeup. It had some late movement, moving down and away from Rodriguez.
Ball four to Rodriguez. So Derek Jeter was an easy out. He took 2 pitches, and since then a walk to Damon, the single to Teixeira, and now another walk. This one issued to A-Rod. Brings up Hideki Matsui.
And Matsui, another reason why this ball club is good against left-handed pitching. He's hit 23 home runs, 10 of those against left-handers. You know, when you're pitching against a ball club like the New York Yankees, the one thing you have to always keep in mind, if you execute and make quality pitches, you're going to be fine. You're going to get them out, because good pitching will slow down good hitting. What happens is you start trying to be too fine, such as Ricky Romero here in the first inning, and you pitch yourself right into trouble.
Well, there's a base hit with the bases loaded. That chases Damon home, and the ball gets away from Travis Snyder, so Teixeira's in to score. Here comes Alex Rodriguez, and he scores as well. Matsui's all the way to third, and the rookie out and right let it slip right by him.
And really no reason for something like this to happen. He was going to have no throw. It's pick the ball up, throw it into second base, keep the double play in order, and at the last moment must have just looked up, and the ball goes right under his glove.
So here's how they scored: a single for Matsui. He's credited with 2 runs batted in. Charge an error to Travis Snyder, put Matsui at third, and just like that, give the Yankees a 3-0 lead.
And I go back to the walk to Johnny Damon. He basically had Johnny Damon beat, let him come all the way back in the count, draw the base on balls, and then this sets up the entire inning.
Well, there are going to be a lot of mistakes made along the way as some of these young kids develop, like Travis Snyder. And so Jorge Posada, the catcher, stands in there with Matsui at third. The infield for the Jays halfway in.
And as far as average goes, Posada a better hitter average-wise from the right side, 305 from the left side, 269.
Let's go back to that error by the right fielder Snyder. If you're Cito Gaston, what do you tell young Travis Snyder when he comes back to the bench, or do you need to say anything?
At this point, you really don't need to say anything. He knows he made a mistake, and he knows what he needs to do to correct it.
That's grounded to third, and it bounces past Bautista into left field. Matsui is in, and it's 4-0.
You're looking at a ball club right there that it doesn't matter who they're playing or where they're at, they expect to win. And they most certainly, here in the first inning, taking it to the Blue Jays.
Robinson Cano then is the next hitter. He's the number 7 hitter for the Yankees. Still just one away here in the first. You've played on a team, Rance, with that air, perhaps in 1992.
Played on.
Must have been fun to come to the and 1980 with the Kansas City Royals.
Yes, and through the all through the 80s with the Blue Jays.
Must have been fun to come to the ballpark when you figured you could beat anybody.
That was the mindset, and that's the mindset that you have to have. And it almost sounds arrogant, but I was fortunate enough to play on a lot of really good ball clubs, and for us, it didn't matter if we were in Boston, New York, out on the West Coast. We always felt like it was the other ball club that was in trouble. And for me, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that attitude. That's one you have to have. You have to feel like you belong and you can play against anyone.
In 162 games, you're going to lose your share. How did you take losing?
Sometimes it depended on the situation and the loss. Losing was never fun. Again, those ball clubs, we hated to lose. But we were very resilient. We're able to bounce back, come back the next day, because once the game's in the book, it's in the book. So you come back the next day and you go after them again. Even if you have a tremendous ball club, you're going to probably lose 62 to 65 games, no matter what. There's going to be probably 60, 65 games in there where you're going to win. You're just going to overmatch the opposition. You're going to have one of those games where you win by 2, 3, 4 runs. So now you've got 30 games, 35 games, maybe even 40 there in the middle. Those which are the tough ball games that you have to win. Those one-run games which are critical. And sometimes you win those just based upon nothing more than desire.
Romero's early struggles continue as he works a full count against Robinson Cano. The seats here at the Rogers Center are barely warm, and already it's 4-0 for New York. As Cano bats with Posada at first. His single drives home Matsui with a 4th run. Time called from behind home plate. And Romero will reset with his battery mate, Raul Chavez. Here comes the left-hander again on 3-2, and he breaks Cano's bat, rolling it to Hill. And Marcos Scutaro to first in time, and they get a double play. A disastrous first inning as the Jays allow 4 to the Yankees. Because look at those numbers over the last 14 games. 4 home runs, a 360 average. Correction, 368. He torched the Texas Rangers for 3 home runs. In fact, he's been taking care of business against Texas all year long. And tonight he goes after a right-hander, a journeyman at that, and a one-time Blue Jay, in fact, as 26-year-old Chad Godin makes his 21st start of the season, but just his 2nd for the New York Yankees. He spent the majority of this year with the San Diego Padres, split last year between the Cubs and the A's, and here's a look at his scouting report.
Hey, not overpowering, a fastball that tops out at 90, slider and change. And control has been a problem at times. When he manages to harness it up and throw strikes, he can be pretty effective, and his slider is his best pitch. And Jamie, it's going to be interesting to see how the Blue Jays respond here this evening after falling behind quickly 4-0 here in the first inning.
Well, they'll start with Marcos Scutaro, who is 0 for his last 12. He went just 3 for 17 on the road trip, and he flies that into left field. Here's Damon. And down goes Scutaro as we set the Blue Jays defense.
The Yankees this evening.
The Yankees, right.
That's quite all right. Damon in left, Cabrera in center, Swisher in right, Rodriguez and Jeter on the left side of the infield, Cano and Teixeira on the right side. Posada does the catching, and of course Chad Godin the pitching this evening. And Mark Teixeira, the offensive numbers speak for themselves, and everybody, when they talk about Teixeira, refer to the offense, but 2-time Gold Glove Award winner and maybe on the way to a 3rd as a first baseman. Outstanding defensively.
Godin now facing Aaron Hill. The pitch is high. It's 2-0. Hill leads the Blue Jays in home runs, but he lost his RBI lead over the last 3 days to Adam Lind.
Adam Lind passed up a lot of people over the last 3 days in Texas. Made a big leap, I should say.
The Jays saw Godin at Yankee Stadium on the 12th of August. He came in a ball game that went extra innings and picked up a win in his debut with New York. The Yankees won that one on a Robinson Cano single in the bottom of the 11th inning off of Sean Camp. Pitched in 12 games for the Jays, won a start at Safeco Field, and that was a victory. Hill was rather average on that road trip, hitting .269 as he awaits the 3-2, and he swings at it, and down he goes. 2 out in the first inning.
And if you go back to the Texas series, both Marco Scutaro and Aaron Hill struggled a little bit. And that most certainly had an effect on the offense, but you can't do it all the time. But both of them have been outstanding all year long for the Blue Jays.
Here's Adam Lind, who really was the lone bright spot on that road trip. In particular, a career game in the opening game in Texas, an 18-10 victory for the Blue Jays. Lind had 8 RBIs, a pair of home runs, 1 a grand slam. There he is facing Chad Godin. And on the 2-0 pitch, Lind fouls it back. That one rings Posada's mask. He gets the new ball from Scott Berry. Posada at the ripe age of 38. Still catching games with the Yankees. The 2-2 pitch runs inside right under Lind's elbow. In fact, this is the 81st game this year that Posada has caught. The last time someone as old as Posada caught 80 games in the big leagues was Tony Pena with Cleveland in 1995, as Lind draws a walk with 2 out. Must be nice when you get 4 runs at the top of the first inning. At least Godin knows he's got a little comfort zone to work with.
You get 4 runs in the top of the first. Most certainly that makes your starting pitcher much more comfortable. And of course, you know, Chad Godin and the Yankees feel like, we've got another eight innings in this ball game, so you have to feel like you're going to score some more runs. So really, if you're Chad Godin, if you just throw strikes and don't beat yourself, you're in pretty good shape right now.
Godin last year went 9-5. Starting the year with the Oakland A's, he was eventually traded to the Chicago Cubs along with Rich Harden as he deals on the corner, and it's 1-1. Lind and Teixeira together at first. Lyle Overbay at the plate. He's the number 4 hitter. And on 1-1, here's the pitch, and it's low. That home run that Overbay hit in last night's game in Texas was the 100th of his career. And he hit it to dead center field off Tommy Hunter in the 4th inning.
And with the count 3-1 now, if you're Lyle Overbay, you get a fastball in this situation that's a pretty good one to hit. I'm not talking about if they paint you on the corner and make a quality pitch or throw something other than a fastball. But if you get a fastball right here, This is a situation 3-1. You've got to square it up, hit it hard.
He lets it go. Minus strike 2. Rants over base, sometimes leans toward trying to work the count a little more.
He does.
You find he misses good pitches to hit a lot?
Yes, I don't think he misses them. Sometimes he'll take them.
Chooses not to swing at them.
Sometimes he'll take them, and I know that, you know, it's been addressed. They would like for him to be a little more aggressive at times. But, you know, 3-1, the pitch was up a little bit, but it was out away from him, and I'm sure 3-1 there, he was looking for something a little closer to him to try and drive. So you don't have a problem with the take of that 3-1 pitch.
Lynn takes off from first. This is grounded foul, so he'll come back. They'll try again. Cito Gaston will often encourage hitters on 3-0 or 3-1 counts if they're either struggling or they haven't hit an extra base hit in a while to go after it, green light them, as opposed to trying to work a walk out of a 3-0 situation. Godin here continues the battle. Here's the pitch, and it's flied to left field. Damon over toward the corner, pulls it down for the out, and Overbay is finally gone with the third out. And after 1 inning of play here in Toronto, it's the Yankees 4, the Blue Jays no score. As the club returns to town for an 8-game homestand. They've got 4 here against the Yankees through Sunday, and then Minnesota makes their first visit. They'll start a series with the Twins on Monday, and Minnesota continues to stay close to Detroit. The Twins sitting second in the American League Central. Right now, though, the focus for Ricky Romero is Nick Swisher, the switch hitter. And Swisher takes a strike. A lot of first-time Yankees making a great contribution, and Swisher is one of them.
All the talk about the Yankee Stadium and how, especially early on in the season, the ball was just jumping out of that ballpark to right field, right center. Oddly enough, Swisher has hit 23 home runs, 20 of them on the road.
Go figure.
That doesn't make any sense at all, but having a good year.
0-2, and he swings and misses. Romero gets him on 3 pitches, and there's 1 away.
And the 0-2 pitch, you get excellent look at the changeup from Ricky Romero. He has great arm action with it, has good late movement.
He sees the center fielder Melky Cabrera now. At times, it's been a brilliant season for Romero. He got after that quick start and really turned some heads after winning his debut here against Rick Porcello and the Detroit Tigers. He and the Jays were really the first team to hand Zach Greinke a loss after Greinke got off to that incredible start. Kansas City walked in here in early June, and Romero went 7 innings in a 9-3 win for his 3rd victory of the year. And he's beaten the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, too. Not a bad season for someone who, in the minds of most Blue Jay fans, wasn't even part of the rotation around the middle of March. He's got 2 strikes here on the center fielder Melky Cabrera. And that breaking ball is off the plate. There's a strike 3 pitch. Down goes Cabrera, and Romero has back-to-back Ks in the 2nd inning.
And so far in this inning, he looks like a completely different pitcher. He jumped out in front of Swisher 0-2, struck him out with a changeup. 1-2 fastball here to Cabrera right on the inside corner. Great pitch sequence to Cabrera, and he executed every one of them.
He was able to retire Derek Jeter on 2 pitches when Jeter led off the ball game in the 1st. The Yankees scored 4 times in that inning. Here's Jeter again, and he slaps that foul. And Jeter enters the game with a .433 average over his last 22, so he is starting to heat up as we get into September. Strike 2. Chavez ponders the situation.
I would not be at all surprised if he throws him that changeup. It's been working very well.
There it is away, and he got him to swing at it. Down goes Jeter, and Romero strikes out the side. Still 4-0 New York. 3 home runs in tonight's game. A lucky contestant wins a 52-inch Sharp Aquos LCD TV with full array LED backlight and the lowest power consumption of any TV available today. As well, you get a Blu-ray disc player. Aquos LED, the evolution of LCD TV, continues. To enter and find out more, please visit hitahomerunwithsharp.ca. Back at the Rogers Center, this is Jamie Campbell with Rance Mulliniks and Sam Cosentino. 4-0 for the Yankees. They scored 4 in the first on 3 hits and a costly error committed by Travis Snider. But Ricky Romero, seemingly unfazed, came back in the top of this inning and struck out the side, getting Derek Jeter with a changeup to finish things. And so here come the Blue Jays with Vernon Wells, the center fielder, slapping the ball to short. Jeter has it, and he throws out Wells, 1 down. Randy Ruiz then steps to the plate. He's the DH tonight. He went 2 for 3 against the Rangers last night with his 5th home run. Ruiz comes up from AAA Las Vegas, and their season ends this coming Monday. So by that time, you will likely see another set of players being promoted as Ruiz pounds it up the middle. Gloved by Jeter. He turns and fires to first. What a play. Dug out at the back end by Mark Teixeira. And Jeter showing some young legs there, Rance.
Yeah, nice range by Derek Jeter to his left, and he'll spin around and make a throw in. Look at the former Gold Glover dig it out. Nice play on the back end by Teixeira. As an infielder, it's a great feeling when you know you have a first baseman. Just get it somewhere close, he'll make a play for you.
So 2 ground outs, and now Travis Snider steps in. Manager Cito Gaston addressed Snider's problems before the game. He said clearly he needs to get started a little earlier. He's got to be able to catch up to a major league fastball if he's to play at this level.
If you can't hit the fastball, you can't hit. Establish that you can hit the fastball. You can learn how to hit the off-speed pitches.
They're clearly tweaking with Snider too. Gene Tennis had him lower his hands before the game in Texas last night because they're the numbers. $167 since he came up. The 1-2 here, runs in and hits him in the toe. Well, that's one way to get on base, and Snider does.
Like it just caught a piece of his shoe. And if there's anyone that's due right now, it's the man at the plate. He really had a tough road trip.
He did indeed.
He has really struggled lately at the plate.
Oh for his last 12. Just 1 hit in 18 bats on the trip. Godin with a 1-0 pitch, and it's grounded to Rodriguez at third. Make it 0 for 13 as Bautista's thrown out. Snider's left on base, and the Yankees lead 4-0 after 2. Discount coupon from Rogers. You can use the coupon toward the purchase of a new BlackBerry Bold or Curve 8900 smartphone from Rogers at any Wireless Wave T-Booth retail location throughout Canada. It's ladies' night at the ballpark. The annual promotion, very popular among the gals. Most of the Blue Jays fans naturally, so they can't be terribly happy with a 4-0 deficit right now as Johnny Damon, who walked and scored, leads off the third for New York. I'm Jamie Campbell with Rance Mullenix and Sam Cosentino. Good to see our Sportsnet.ca columnist and statistician Scott Carson back in the booth after a well-deserved break. Ricky Romero, who struck out the side in the second inning, gets a strike here to even the count on Johnny Damon. It's a tale of 2 innings, Rance. 4 runs scored on 3 hits in the first, and he struck out 3 straight in the second. Let's see what kind of performance Romero gets here as he sees the ball lifted to left field. Lynn comes over and makes the catch. Damon is gone, and there's 1 away. Let us bring you a Rogers Fast Fact, and it's brought to you by Canada's fastest mobile network, 3 times faster than any other. During this 6-game win streak, the Yankees have outscored opponents 47-14, including CC Sabathia's 16th win last night, a 10-2 victory over the Baltimore Orioles. One of the reasons the Yankees have been so successful is due to the acquisition of Mark Teixeira. And his numbers speak for themselves as he lifts this ball down the line, and it's out of play. Among position players, he was the most sought-after free agent in the offseason, and he chose the Yankees for great riches and has not been a disappointment. He started slowly, but 32 home runs, 101 RBIs. In fact, he's the first American leaguer to get to the 100 mark in runs driven in. As it's grounded to third, taken by Bautista, he goes across the diamond, and Teixeira is gone 5-3. Well, let's see. Teixeira's hit 32 home runs. A.J. Burnett has won 10 games. His struggles lately have been a little costly to the Yankees. CC Sabathia, 16 victories. Let's see, they spent on 3 players
A bunch.
almost $500 million. Is that an accurate calculation?
I honestly
think it may be.
It wouldn't shock me. CC Sabathia, he got off to a little bit of a rough start. He had trouble locating early on, but he's also, since June 21st, 10-3, which is the best in the American League in terms of wins and losses. So once he settled in, got comfortable maybe with the environment of pitching in New York and the contract and all that goes with that, he has really stepped his game up. And you go back to last year, I don't think there's any doubt that CC Sabathia has established himself as a big game type pitcher.
Well, they got Sabathia, they got Burnett, they signed Teixeira. Damon's having a good year. A-Rod's having a good year. Jeter's having a nice year. But if they go in the first round, it means absolutely nothing.
All of a sudden,
there's a swing and a miss as Romero gets the breaker over and fools Rodriguez. A 1-2-3 third for Ricky. 4-0 New York here in Toronto. Hey, let's look down into the big comfy chairs known as the TD Canada Trust Comfort Zone, and there we find representatives from the March of Dimes, courtesy of TD Canada Trust. A 4-0 lead for the Yankees as we hit the bottom of the third inning. One-time Blue Jay Chad Gaudin on the mound for New York against Raul Chavez, Toronto's number 9 hitter. He gives Rod Barajas a break and catches tonight. After him, Marcos Scutaro comes up, and then Aaron Hill. Gaudin with a 1-0 pitch, and it's low.
Now, see, this is a situation you're down by 4 here in the bottom of the third. You got a 2-0 count. And now, if you're Raul Chavez, you might think about taking a pitch here. You just need some base runners.
He doesn't. In fact, he bangs it to center field. Cabrera on the run. It's over his head and up against the wall. And Chavez is into second base with a double. He takes advantage of a 2-0 from Gaudin and has an extra base hit.
Well, if you're going to hit the ball like this, go ahead and freewheel it. Fastball up, out over the plate, and he jumps all over it. Well, he's been a pleasant find for this ball club this year. He's definitely demonstrated that he's an outstanding catch and throw from behind the plate.
He's been around a long time. He first broke into the big leagues with the Montreal Expos back in 1996.
You watch him catching, you wonder why he hasn't, spent a lot of time in the major leagues and been able to, if nothing else, as a backup.
In more of a starter's role?
Well,
you could ask the same question about number 19
I think the question with Chavez is, probably never been able to really hit enough to play every day. This man right here, on the other hand, he's been in the big leagues, but he got labeled as a utility player last year because of injuries to the Jays ball club. He got a lot of playing time, over 500 at bats, and played so well that going into spring training, Cito Gaston said, "You're the shortstop. You're my starting shortstop." And of course, he has taken advantage of it and has just been tremendous all year long, defensively, on offense.
And note how the perception has changed. Ask Cito Gaston what his priority is. He'd like to have Scutaro back under contract as a full-time shortstop again next year, preferably in a multi-year contract. As Gaudin kicks, here's the 1-1, and it's low. So he goes from having the reputation of being merely a good utility player to a guy who will go out on the open market now as a bona fide starting shortstop.
And you mentioned multi-year. That's what it's going to take to sign him. He scored 92 runs. On base percentage of .381.
He pops this one up into short right field. Swisher comes in and chases Cano away.
But he has, over the last 3-4 ball games, been off just a little bit at the plate. He had a good at bat there, got himself a good pitch to hit, and he missed it. Popped it up to right field. When he's swinging the bat well in a good groove, he doesn't miss that pitch. He'll hit it hard. He'll put it in play hard.
When you play as often as Scutaro and Aaron Hill, who stands up there now against Gaudin, and he pops it up too. This is Teixeira at first base. As you know, Rance, Cito has penciled their names into the top of the order all year long, almost every day. Is there a wall to be hit in September sometimes?
Sometimes you get a little tired, a little physically tired, and I don't know that that's the case with Marcos Scutaro and Aaron Hill.
You could say, well, Adam Lind plays a ton too, but Adam Lind in the early part of the year was a designated hitter.
And he's still at the DHs from time to time.
Here he is with 2 out and a man at second base in the bottom of the third inning.
But you hope that Adam Lind can deliver here for you and produce a run. It's always tough when you're down and a hitter leads off the inning with an extra base hit, gets in scoring position, and you're not able to pick him up in scoring, because if you just execute a little bit, you can pick up that run.
There's Chavez up at second
and
after his leadoff double.
Excuse me, Jamie, and you never know. I mean, it is early. There's a lot of baseball left to play. It looks like Romero has really settled in the last 2 innings. He's been outstanding, and he may pick. Let's assume from this point on he goes 6th, 7th, into the 6th or 7th, holds this offense of the Yankees down. You pick up that run out there right now, it could factor in later in the ballgame.
Well, let's go downstairs. Sitting about 15 rows up from home plate is Sam Cosentino.
Well, Jamie, a monster series for Adam Lind in Texas. I asked him why he had so much success there. Didn't really blame anything other than having weather where it wasn't 100 degrees and didn't wear him down. Surely he was seeing the ball fairly well.
Here's Chavez breaking for third as the ball goes right between the wickets of Jorge Posada. So the catcher is charged with a pass ball. Chavez now at third. And it's 3 balls and a strike on Lind. Louisiana native Chad Godin sets then, and here is the pitch, 3-1, and that misses inside, ball 4. Lind draws a walk, his second of the ball game.
I think the Yankees know who's hot in this lineup.
Well, I was just going to say the early indication is that Godin doesn't want to mess with Adam Lind.
Adam Lind has turned into one of those types of hitters when you sit down and you go over your pitcher and catcher and your pitching coaches how you're going to attack the opposing lineup and who you are not going to allow to beat you.
But that walk now lends a little intrigue to this situation here, because now you've got 2 men on and a guy who can hit the ball over the fence if he gets the right pitch in Lyle Overbay. And a 4-0 Yankee lead, and he's going for it on the first pitch. It's high, and he swings through. 0-1 on Overbay, who homered in the game yesterday in Texas.
But the Yankees have probably said, Adam Lind, we're not going to let him beat us. We're going to pick our poison. And if we have to, we'll pitch around him and go after Overbay.
Backdoor breaking ball. And it bites the corner, 0-2. Godin again. And it's lined to center field. That spins Cabrera around, but he gets back, positions himself, and makes the catch. He was in an awful hurry. 2 men left here in the third. Prestigious Roberto Clemente Award, and this award is given to someone who makes a tireless contribution to the community, and Vernon does just that. Cast your vote, please, at BlueJays.com. He has heard it from the crowds here at Rogers Center a good portion of the year, but you cannot mistake the heart of Vernon Wells and his work with, in particular, the Rookie League organization, part of the Jays Care Foundation. Top of the fourth inning, and here's Hideki Matsui. The Yankees bring up Matsui, Posada, and Cano to face Ricky Romero. Romero has encountered one bad inning, and that was the first, when he gave up 4 runs. Some of the blame there goes to the right fielder Travis Snyder, who let Matsui's ground ball just slip right under his glove and roll out toward the wall. And that 2-base error led to additional runs for the Yankees. They had a 4-0 lead after 1, but Romero in the second and third has been terrific, striking out the side in the second, getting a 1-2-3 third. And that's just nasty right there. He gets the swing from Matsui. It's 2-2.
Well, in his last outing in Boston, that's a pitch that Romero didn't use effectively, was his changeup, and he has a very good one. And you eliminate the first inning, second, third, and here to Matsui. He's really found the feel for that pitch, and it's made him a completely different pitcher. The toughest pitch to hit in baseball is a good changeup, and he has, you won't find a better one around. He has great arm action, and it moves late and hard.
Chavez sets up inside, and the pitch is high. You see a lot of these 3-2 counts whenever the Yankees provide the opposition. They're not exactly a bunch of free swingers.
No, they aren't. They're professional hitters, and they have an idea what they want to do. And for the most part, up and down the lineup, they have pretty good command of the strike zone.
Ball 4. So a blemish for Romero as he walks Matsui, the leadoff man of the fourth inning, issuing his third free pass. Here comes Jorge Posada, who was the object of a few laughs in one of the games down in Baltimore, when on 2 different occasions he wasn't aware of the count. In fact, on one occasion, ball 3 was thrown, and I believe Posada started his way down to first base, and the umpire had to call him back and say, wait a second, it's only 3-2. On another occasion, I think
ball 4 and didn't know he'd walked.
Yeah, and I believe he thought he had struck out when it was only a 2-strike situation, and he had to be called back to the plate.
Had a lot on his mind.
Well, he's a catcher.
He's got to catch. He's got to.
That kind of thing ever happened to you in your career, Rance? Either forgetting what the count might have been and taking a trot down to first base, or even worse, on the base paths not knowing?
Yes, it happened. I don't think I ever forgot how many strikes I had. I definitely a time or two on what I thought was ball 4. It was ball 3.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that's ever played the game at some point has made the mistake out there running the bases, forgotten how many outs there are, and that's always a very embarrassing moment.
Here's Romero, the 1-2 pitch, and he gets Posada. And so far, that changeup has been his best pitch. Would you agree?
Yes, it has. It's been a very good one for him. Gets another strikeout with it here. I think the most embarrassing moment that I ever experienced on a baseball field, or I should say maybe one of the most embarrassing. Nobody else was aware of it but me. There's a runner at second base. 1 out. I'm hitting. I thought there was nobody out. I roll over, hit a nice little ground ball pace to the right side. They throw me out at first. I get back. Nobody's congratulating me in the dugout. I sit down. I look up and I go, there's 2 outs. Way to go. You just threw away an AB. But nobody was aware of it.
Except you.
That's it. That happened down at Exhibition Stadium.
Chavez sets up a way outside, and he gets the strikeout pitch anyway.
And again with the changeup. And it shows you how good Romero's changeup is. They're trying to get this pitch away. It's actually up a little bit, and for the most part in the middle of the plate, but it still fools Robinson Cano.
So Romero has fashioned 6 strikeouts already. With 2 out in the 4th inning, he'll face Nick Swisher. Swisher calls time. He's at 23 home runs, and I know you mentioned it already, Brent, but I find it absolutely fascinating that only 3 of them have come at Yankee Stadium. Considering the number of home runs that are being hit at that stadium this year, and Swisher, whose light effort there puts him behind 0-1, has only 3 in the home yard. That's incredible.
That swing on that first pitch, you think by chance he was geared for a fastball?
Matsui with a very short lead at first. Here's Romero, and that's inside. 1 ball and 1 strike on Swisher, who's still under the terms of a contract he signed with the Oakland A's, but since then he's been with the Chicago White Sox for a year, and now New York. Romero deals, and that's high. Ricky's making his 23rd start of this season. And unlike other rookies like Brett Cecil and Mark Sepchinski, they will not shut him down, in part due to the fact he spent about a month's time on the disabled list. Sepchinski pitched game 1 of the doubleheader in Texas on Tuesday and was told afterward that that would be it for him. He was not made aware of it before the game, although he knew that moment was coming. There's Swisher on 3-1. He's geared up for the pitch from Romero. And here it comes. It's grounded down toward third, but foul. And so Sepchinski has been shut down, and Brett Cecil is next to go. He'll pitch on Saturday and no more, and both men will hang around with the team, work out. You won't see them throw many baseballs, though.
And Romero into his 5th year in professional baseball and out of college.
Matsui goes from first. It's low for ball 4. So among the problems for Romero tonight is the fact that he's walked 4. And so 2 of the 4 have scored.
He's had more time to build up his arm strength, his endurance. The first inning he walked 2, which really set up the entire inning. Now, he was hurt somewhat by the error by the right fielder, but those 2 base on balls he walked, Johnny Damon and Alex Rodriguez, set the entire situation up. And here, a base on balls, 2 strikeouts, and then another walk, and he put himself back into a position here of a little bit of trouble.
Here's the first pitch then to Melky Cabrera, and he shoots it to center field. It's in for a base hit. Matsui comes around easily and scores. The Yankees increase their lead to 5-0.
And it gets a little bit redundant, but you go back to Hideki Matsui, whom he had down in the count, tried to be a little too fine, didn't finish him off, and now he comes around to score on the base hit by Cabrera.
And the thing about pitching against these Yankees, Rance, as you well know, is all of a sudden the 5th inning rolls around and you've already thrown 100 pitches.
And I said this in the first inning. You can't, against this offense, the last thing you can do, unless it's a situation where you are purposely pitching around a hitter, you cannot issue the base on ball, because there's just too much depth in the lineup. They're going to make, you might get away with it once in a while, but they're going to make you pay. Everybody in the lineup has to earn his way aboard.
1 strike on Jeter, who's 0 for 2. You made the comment at the start that you just can't try and be too fine against a team like this one, because they'll just sort of grind you to death. But is the opposite feeling, well, if I make a mistake and I make a mistake in the heart of the plate, they're going to crush it?
That's what makes you grind. That's what makes you nibble so much. And again, you have to realize that this is a good offensive ball club, but to get them out, every pitch doesn't have to be a nasty one, knee high, right on the black on one side of the plate or the other. You could, every time you make a mistake, it's not going to get clobbered. And if you go out there and pitch like, if I do make a mistake, it's going to get hit hard, and you get tentative again, and you start nibble, nibble, nibble. What has happened? The 2 times that he's gotten trouble in this ball game, what happened?
Throw down. Chavez can't get Cabrera.
Good jump by Cabrera off of first base. Romero not paying any attention to him, really. And he just goes on first movement, and no chance for Chavez to throw him out. He did a nice job to make it fairly close. But the 2 times that he's gotten in trouble in this ball game, if you think back a little bit, it's when he got a little wild, a little too fine, couldn't finish some hitters off. Walked 2 in the first inning. He's walked 2 in this one.
And 3 of the 4 walks have come in to score.
And you will never know, but if he makes those 4 guys that he walked put the ball in play,
different story, perhaps.
And more than likely, percentages say that it would be a different story.
2-2 on Jeter. 2nd and 3rd for the Yankees. He gets Jeter to swing. And so the star at the top of the order is 0 for 3. The rest of the Yankees are doing quite well. They're up 5-0 here on Rogers. beautiful downtown Toronto. It's the Blue Jays on Rogers Sportsnet, game 1 of a 4-game set with the New York Yankees. And New York, having a tremendous season, gets off to a 5-0 lead against the Jays, who bring up Vernon Wells, Randy Ruiz, and Travis Snider here in the last of the 4th inning. Wells grounded out in the second. He's 0 for 1 against Chad Gaudin, whose first victory with this club, his first appearance, in fact, was against Toronto in the middle of August down at Yankee Stadium. Gaudin was released by the Cubs in spring training. Found his way to the San Diego Padres. He walks Vernon Wells there. And then was picked up in a trade for a player to be named later by the Yankees. Imagine going from the last place Padres, who've been at the bottom of the National League West all season long, it seems, to the first place Yankees. And he's pitching in vital games as they try and hang on to their 7.5-game lead atop the American League East.
Hey, right now, as it stands, you would think these Yankees going into the playoffs would go with CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Andy Pettitte. And lost in all this, Andy Pettitte has quietly had himself an outstanding season.
Very much so.
The old veteran just keeps getting it done.
He's certainly considered retirement at the end of next year. There he is talking with AJ Burnett.
He's 12-6 on the season.
There's a big cut from Ruiz, 1-2, and of course the Yankees ended up losing a 20-game winner last year to retirement when Mike Mussina hung things up. And after all those years with the Orioles and the Yankees, he finally got a 21 season, and it came in the very last season he'd pitch in the big leagues. As Ruiz goes down on strikes, and so he's 0 for 2 tonight.
That's his go-to pitch, and his best pitch for Gaudin is his slider, or call it more of a slurve. It has a little more break to it than a slider, not as much as a curveball. A little bit somewhat has the movement that Steve's slider had, although Steve's was a lot harder and the break was a lot later and sharper. Steve had the kind of slider that you could look for it and couldn't hit it. Had a lot of hitters, opposing hitters, tell me, I looked for the slider off him all night last night, and he still punched me out 3 times.
Did you face him early in
no,
his career?
I never did face Dave early on.
So you're lucky.
No, he was. No, no, he would have been tough. No doubt about that. And he threw hard. A lot of people forget he's 93, 94 with good sink with his fastball.
This one muscled and past Cano into right center field, and Travis Snider will take it. A little bloop single for Snider.
Well, when you're struggling, it doesn't matter. It always feels good to get a base hit. And Snider, the ball jams him, but he's strong enough to just muscle it out of the reach of Robinson Cano. Didn't look as if Cano got a real good read and jump. And sometimes it just takes a hit or two such as that to get your confidence back and turn you around. You get on a hot streak.
Here are the Blue Jays again with some base runners, in this case first and second. Bautista's average now down to 218. He's really scuffled the last little while. 0 for 1 tonight against Godin. Takes strike 2 and immediately falls into an 0-2 count. And now he's on the defensive.
And that seems to always be the case when you're struggling. Seems like you're constantly 0-2, 1-2, and you have no idea what the next pitch is going to be or where it's going to be, what side of the plate.
His time, at least at third base, is limited because Edwin Encarnacion is due to return on Saturday. And Cito wants to get him back in at third base and give him some playing time as the season closes out. Go down with a 1-2 pitch. And this one muscled foul by Bautista. It's out of play.
Yeah, sometimes when you're struggling, typically what happens, you have a lot of thoughts. And you start to think too much. And you try to do too much. Sometimes you're better off just to say, look, I'm going to go to the plate. I'm going to look for a fastball. If I get one, I'm going to try to put a real nice swing on it.
Oh. Somebody tried to catch that ball with the hat, and the hat ended up about 3 rows away.
And I'm going to be aggressive. And I'm going to do that every at bat tonight. And I'm not going to worry about mechanics or anything else.
Hitting coach Gene Tennis sees Bautista hit right in the midsection. Godin has hit 2 tonight. He got Snyder in the second and now tags Bautista here in the 4th.
It looked like it's trying to go inside with the fastball. And just gets away from him. And no chance for Bautista to avoid getting hit with that pitch. There was just nowhere to go. And now if you're Raul Chavez right here, if you get a mistake fastball, again, this is where you catch it out front and drive it. Don't foul it off over here to the right side.
Bases loaded for the Blue Jays. 1 out, bottom of 4. They've hit 3 grand slams this year, most recently by Adam Lind down in Texas.
And a great opportunity for the Jays here to get themselves back in this game. And you get a situation like this, you're down 5-0. You have got to come out of it with a couple. At least.
Romero would love to see some runs thrown his way as Chavez takes strike 1. This inning began with Wells drawing a walk against Godin. Ruiz struck out. Snyder hit that bloop single to right center, so he's up at second base, and there's Bautista at first after being hit by that pitch. 0-1 as Chavez awaits the pitch from Godin. It's in the dirt, blocked nicely by Posada. Chavez is a career .346 hitter against the Yankees. The kick from Godin, and it's 2 balls and a strike.
Like that stat on the board about Chavez. Stole third base on August 23rd versus the Angels, matching his career high for steals in a season. 1
of 1. That's cruel. Poor guy. There's Bautista watching from first.
Previously accomplished 3 times nonetheless.
There's the 2-1 pitch, and that's a called strike.
And a good pitch by Chad Godin. Right on the corner, knee high, out there at Chavez. Pretty good job by Chavez to lay off this pitch. You swing at this one right here, put it in play. Probably going to be a ground ball, something that you can't make good hard contact with. Count 2-2. Now as a hitter, you hope he makes a mistake that you can take advantage of.
This one muscled to right field, a base hit for Chavez. Wells comes in to score. Snyder's held at third. So Chavez having a fine evening at the plate. He's 2 for 2 with an RBI single now.
And he got a little bit of a mistake, and he did take advantage of it. It was a fastball up. It ran in on him just a little bit, but because the ball was elevated in the strike zone, that kept it off the ground, and he's able to dump it into right field. See Swisher charging very quickly, and the throw into the cutoff man Teixeira.
So Dave Island, who is the pitching coach for the Yankees, has a brief word with the battery tonight. Posada and Godin. 5-1 for New York as the Blue Jays get that run back they gave up in the 4th inning. And here comes Marcos Scutaro, who is 0 for his last 14. And we talk about timing. Scutaro is not the kind of hitter who goes into prolonged slumps. He's been fairly consistent all year long, and an 0 for 14 can't last forever. So here he is, and he goes after the first pitch and flies it into right field. There's Swisher, and the ball is just out of his reach.
And maybe Marco Scutaro and the Jays just caught a break, because it looked as if that ball initially was going to be playable. Now Marco Scutaro has to be thinking, I've gotten a new life and another chance. And it looked as if Nick Swisher, if he really hustles over hard, might have been able to reach in and make a play on that.
I think
ball.
You're absolutely
and
correct.
He looked like he coasted a little bit.
So there's the 0-1, and it's a good looking pitch, but it goes for ball one.
And I was watching that play develop initially. I thought, he didn't look like he really went hard right away, because if he goes hard, breaks down, might have had a real chance to make a play. Wasn't going to be an easy one, but he'd have had a chance.
Bases loaded. Now a ball and 2 strikes. Not that 2 strikes seems to bother Scutaro much. The Jays have finally hit the scoreboard here in the 4th inning on a run-scoring single by Raul Chavez, who's over at first base.
Now, this is a situation, even with 1 and 2, when Marco Scutaro is swinging the bat well, you know the at-bat's not over, because he has great command of the strike zone and he handles the bat so well. But because he's been struggling a little bit lately, probably not as comfortable right now 1-2 as he normally is.
Dan tries to paint outside, and so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Scutaro. Deep in right field, Alfredo Aceves, who's been exceptional for the Yankees, especially in 2 and 3 innings of work out of the bullpen, starts to throw, and Godin knows that. The 2-2 misses. It's now 3-2.
Now this is where it gets a little bit tough for Marco Scutaro, in the sense that, 3-2, he may come back with his good slider right here, so you can't sell out the fastball.
Bases loaded. Snyder's at third. There's Bautista, and over at first, Raul Chavez. Marco Scutaro awaits the 3-2 from Chad Godin.
Approach this at bat like it's 2-2, not 3-2.
Here it comes, and he lifts it high in the air into shallow center field. Melky Cabrera comes in. Snyder tags, and here comes the throw. It's wide of the plate, and Snyder slides in safely. So Scutaro gives himself up and cashes in a run in the process.
Well, Cabrera, execution was perfect. He got all of his momentum behind the throw, but just a little off the mark. And of course, Travis Snyder, for a man his size and his build, runs pretty well and able to score no problem.
The inning continues with Aaron Hill taking strike 1.
Marco Scutaro, the last pitch to him was a slider, and Godin hung it and left it right there to really be hit. He just got under it. You could tell, you saw Marco sitting on the bench initially, knew he got a hanger to hit and didn't really do as much with it as he would have liked to.
Here's the 0-1 and a bullet hit right up the middle, a base hit for Hill. Bautista charging around third comes in to score, and it's now 5-3.
Well, the Jays have done what they needed to do here in this inning when they loaded the bases with just one out. They've been able to take advantage of it and get themselves now right back in this ball game. And Aaron Hill jumps all over this fastball right down Broadway and drives it right past a diving Derek Jeter. And that's going to be it for Gaudin.
Here comes Joe Girardi, and he taps his right forearm. Alfredo Aceves is throwing. Encourage you to join us on Rogers Sportsnet. Tune in a half hour early at 6:30 Eastern Time for Jays Connected. Here is Alfredo Aceves, and look at that record, 9-1 coming out of the bullpen. He comes in here to face Adam Lind with a couple of Blue Jays on base. The first pitch is inside. Aceves has been ultra impressive for the Yankees this year. Back in July, he picked up a 4-inning save against the Jays in a 10-8 victory when he gave up just one hit over 4 innings, striking out 5. The 1-0 pitch to Lind is sent foul, and it's 1-1. So Aceves replaces Gaudin, who only lasts 3 2/3, but he departs leading 5-3.
Aceves in 67 in the 3rd inning, just 12 base on balls, so he's a strike thrower, and you come into the ball game 6th or 7th.
That's popped up. Here's Posada over for a look, and it's out of play.
And you come into the ball game in that 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Oftentimes with this Yankee ball club, the offense that they have, they find themselves down, or even such as the 5th, although they're in the lead right now. If you hang around for a couple innings, pitch some shutout baseball, you got a real good chance to come away with a W. Because this offense, obviously, on many occasions this year, has come back in the late innings of a ball game to win it.
2 strikes now on Lind. Aceves sets at the letters, and here he comes. Swing and a miss, and that's it. The inning comes to an end, but the Blue Jays score 3 times, and New York's lead now at 2. It's 5-3. Times faster than any other. Did you know that the Yankees this year have 9 series sweeps of 3 or more games, most in the American League? You would expect those kind of numbers from a team 37 games above 500. Chad Godin will watch this one now. His night ends after 3 2/3 and 80 pitches thrown. He gives up 3 earned runs.
And a little bit of lack of command got him in trouble here tonight. He walked 3, hit 2 batters.
So the Blue Jays have made it interesting, and now Johnny Damon takes strike 1.
And now, if you're Ricky Romero, you need to settle in, pitch a couple innings of shutout baseball, and continue to give your team a chance to play catch up.
Look at that hook, and it's just a little high. 1-1.
The curveball tonight is a pitch that he really hasn't had good command of. It's been very inconsistent.
It'll be Damon to Sherrup and Rodriguez for the Yankees here in the 5th inning. A late swing as Romero blows that past Damon, and it's 2-2. You know, the Yankees have 4 winning streaks this year of at least 7 games. In stark contrast, the Blue Jays' longest winning streak, and they've done it once, is 4 when they swept the Chicago White Sox here at Rogers Center in the middle of May. That was the high water mark. In fact, they were 3.5 games above 500 after that series. Or excuse me, 3.5 games atop the division after that series. As Romero loses Damon. So walks really, Rance, have been a problem for Romero in this game as well.
But both times he's been in trouble in this ball game, it's been due to the base on balls.
Mark Teixeira digs in now. He's 1 for 2.
And sometimes, I think in particular with younger pitchers, when you know that your offense has been struggling, it's been sputtering, maybe your mindset is you go out and you put a little too much pressure on yourself to try to shut the opposition down. You feel like, well, if I give up 2 or 3 runs, we're probably going to struggle to try to win the ball game because we haven't been scoring.
Let's assume it's easy to get amped up for games against the Yankees or the Red Sox. Ricky Romero realizes that he tends to overthrow when he gets a little too excited.
He does.
And that might have been a factor in the game Saturday at Fenway Park.
It could have, and it very well may have factored in the first inning of this game.
Top of 5, there's Damon, held on by Overbay. Mark Teixeira at the plate. A snap throw to first gets Damon back.
Usually what happens when Romero starts to overthrow, he loses the command of his fastball, and then of course your curveball and your changeup are field type pitches, and when you're overthrowing those, you have virtually no command.
Here's the 1-2. And that seemed to bounce right off the plate and into Chavez's glove.
But sometimes you have to step back and, I know I do, remind myself that it's not an easy game to play, and it's tough out there on that mound, and it's a learning process for these young pitchers.
Little tapper picked up by Chavez, but it's called foul. So Teixeira will come back. Let's bring in Sam Cosentino once again.
Well, Jamie, I think that's why it's so important to get these September starts, and I think that's why Brett Cecil was initiated back into the rotation for 1 and maybe 2 more starts, because you look at these situations and you say to yourself as a young guy, things you want to do moving forward: minimize damage in an inning, maybe allowing 3 runs instead of 4 for Romero in that first inning, not walking a leadoff guy after your team scores runs, and then grinding it out against tough teams. All of these things can be learned here in these September starts for the Blue Jays young pitchers.
Absolutely, Sam. Thank you so much. As the 2-2 is thrown wide of the plate.
With young pitchers, young players, they're going to make what I call mental errors, mistakes, and they can do that through a course of an at bat or out there on the mound pitching to a hitter. When it bothers me is when you see veterans make those types of mistakes on a consistent basis. Then there's no excuse for it. But these young guys, it's on-job training. And we said this before, at the major league level, it's a tough place to have to learn. And you're going to have to be resilient, be able to take your knocks, make some mistakes, and mentally be able to overcome those, not lose confidence, and continue to try to make strides and learn from those mistakes.
He walks another. Not a good start here in the 5th after the Blue Jays scored 3 in their half of the 4th. Romero perhaps hoping for a shutdown inning. Walks the first 2. And the last thing you want if you're a pitcher, regardless of the team, is to see Alex Rodriguez coming up with men on base.
And again, basically he had Teixeira beat. All he had to do was make a quality pitch to him, and he gets him out. But he got ahead in the count, and then sometimes maybe mentally you say, all right, now I don't want to make a mistake. I want to make sure that I don't make a mistake with this 1-2, 2-2 pitch, and it gets hit. And the result is you end up walking Teixeira, in essence trying too hard to avoid making a mistake.
He's walked 6 in the game. That's a career high for Romero. He's got a strike on Alex Rodriguez. (0-2) on A-Rod, and in the category of clutch of A-Rod's 75 RBIs this year, as you look at the right-hander Brandon League warming, 36 have either tied the game or given the Yankees the lead. He's got men at first and second, nobody out in the 5th. and his team enjoys a 2-run lead. Romero with the breaking ball, grounded up the middle, a base hit. Damon scoots around third, and it's 6-3 New York.
Now this is a situation again where this is a mistake. 0-2, this pitch has to be down, and if not just down and out of the strike zone, in the dirt, because it's 0-2, so you've got a couple of pitches to work with. Leaves it up, gets hit right back through the box and into center field.
And now here comes Hideki Matsui, who has 10 home runs against left-handed pitchers this year. There's a strike. It's 0-1. Matsui has Teixeira at second and A-Rod now at first. His single in the first inning cashed 2, although he was able to go all the way to third base on the play after Travis Snyder had the ball roll right under his glove for a 2-base error. Pitching coach Brad Arnsberg has done a fine job with some of these young arms this year, but he's watching one of those arms struggle right now as Matsui fouls it back. It's a ball and 2 strikes. What a workload this year for Arnsberg, who's really had to get to know some new faces and help develop them at the major league level. Romero, one of 5 rookies to debut as a starter this year for the Blue Jays. Scott Richmond was on the hill last night. He took the loss and fell to 6-8. Joe Inglet sits beside him watching the action here. 6-3 for New York. 2-2 on Matsui. The kick from Romero, grounded down the first base side. A nice play by Overbay. They can't get the back end of the double play, but at the bare minimum, Overbay prevents extra bases from Matsui.
Touched on it before the game. Lyle Overbay is an outstanding defensive first baseman, and this is another play that was a good one. Ball was hit very hard to his backhand, able to set, make a very accurate throw to get the force out. And Ricky Romero, who is a very good athlete and feels his position very, very well, got over to first base in time. It's just the relay was too late to get Matsui.
So Teixeira is up to third on that play. On the fielder's choice, Matsui's parked himself at first base. Grabbing a little dirt is the catcher Jorge Posada. He's 1 for 2. And Romero knows that Brandon League has been warming and is now ready in the bullpen. Romero now 2 pitches away from 100 on the night, and we're only in the top of the 5th inning. Rance, you can sometimes tell the way a team plays the game based on the length of the games. The last 3 losses by the Blue Jays in Texas, last night's game and then both of the doubleheaders, came in under 3 hours, each one of them. But the Yankees tend to win games and do so in 3+, sometimes 3.5 hours. in part because of the way they approach their at-bats. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, some of it is due to their approach and the fact that they don't go out of the strike zone a lot and get themselves out. They're very patient. But on the other hand, sometimes as a pitcher, you can give the opposition a little too much credit. Sometimes you just have to trust your stuff and challenge the hitters. But a lot of it is attitude. The Yankees have some good players, some outstanding players. There's no doubt about that. But the mindset of the ball club is no one can beat us. And there's a lot to be said for that type of mental attitude and makeup. Oftentimes we've heard it say, there's a ball club that they got a lot of really good players and they've got some tremendous athletes, but they always underachieve. They never play up to the level that they should. That's because they don't have that mindset. They don't have that attitude.
Slap to right field. In comes Snyder. It drops in front of him. Teixeira races home. Add another run for the Yankees on the bloop single by Posada. And that's it for Ricky Romero. Cito Gaston has seen enough. He saw his club get to within 2 runs, needed a shutdown inning, and could not get it from the young left-hander from Los Angeles. So he'll go to the bullpen and bring in Brandon Lee. In relief, he'll face Robinson Cano in the 5th inning of play here with 2 Yankees aboard and 2 Yankees in. A 7-3 New York lead. They've scored twice here in the 5th inning. The Yankees have singled the Blue Jays to death tonight. They've got 6 base hits, all of them singles, as that one is tapped foul by Cano. The Jays just got back from a series in Texas in which 14 home runs were hit, 7 by each club. And these Yankees certainly know how to hit them too. They lead the major leagues with 208 home runs this year. They're on pace for a franchise record 253. In the ball game tonight, Ricky Romero issued a career high 6 walks, 5 of them scored. As Cano gets under this one, lines it out to center field. Wells makes the catch and sends both runners back. So Nick Swisher is announced. He's the number 8 hitter and is 0 for 1. He'll face League, who's sporting a new look. Like Scott Richmond, League has decided to go with the traditional look of having the socks high. Trying to mix things up a little bit. He leans in and gets a sign from Chavez. Yankees at first and second. And now with the right-hander on, Swisher turns around to the other side and bats from the left. He's a switch hitter. There's a long throw down to second, but Scutaro was behind the bag.
Almost appeared as if maybe there's a little miscommunication. Maybe Chavez thought there was a play on. And obviously no one in the middle of the infield thought so. Marco Scutaro, based upon his positioning defensively, didn't have far to go to prevent the ball from going into center field.
That gets away from Chavez. Matsui's to third, Posada up to second, and a wild pitch is charged to Brandon League.
Looked like a split finger fastball. Good technique by Chavez. He just unable to use that chest protector to kill the ball and keep it right in front of him.
That is the 8th wild pitch thrown by League this year that leads the Blue Jays. 2-1 here on Swisher, and it's taken foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Yankees were able to jump on top of Romero for 4 runs in the first inning on 3 hits. They added 1 more to make it a 5-0 lead in the top of the 4th inning on an RBI single by Melky Cabrera. But Toronto got 3 in their half of the 4th, with Chavez coming up with a key base hit. But just as the Jays get close, here are the Yankees adding 2 more in the 5th inning to make it a 7-3 lead. Sky to left field, and Lind is back toward the track. He's got it. Swisher's retired, and so too are the Yankees, but they add a couple of more and lead 7-3. You're watching Blue Jays baseball on Rogers Sportsnet. spirits tomorrow after he gets roughed up by the Yankees tonight, 4 1/3 innings. And here's why, because he'll be at the J Shop at Sears signing autographs for fans from noon until 1 o'clock. The J Shop at Sears down at the Eaton Center in downtown Toronto. And knowing Ricky, he'll be just fine, thank you very much. And we'll certainly be there to greet fans with a smile. He goes 4 1/3 tonight, 5 earned runs.
Well, it wasn't as if the Yankees hit the ball so hard off of him. He just pitched himself into trouble in 3 different innings in this ball game, where he walked 2 in those innings where he gave up the runs.
Overbay pops this one foul, and Rodriguez was there, and he takes out one of the police officers down there. That's grounds for arrest.
Well, it's not going to be an easy play for Rodriguez, but one that he should have made. He actually just misjudged the ball a little bit as to where it was coming down. Of course, he's playing Overbay to pull on the infield, so he had quite a ways to go, but most of the time that is a play that Alex Rodriguez is going to make.
It's a good thing this is a baseball game, Rance. If you do that to a police officer roaming the street, you're going to be in jail. I think he had his hand on her gun there. One ball, 2 strikes as Alfredo Aceves is working in relief of Chad Godin here in the last of the 5th inning. And Aceves with a kick in the pitch, swung on and missed, and down goes Overbay. So there's 1 out, and Vernon Wells is called upon to face Aceves, who was some time ago part of the Blue Jays system, part of their Dominican team.
See Aceves with a good changeup of his own. That last pitch, some good late movement, going down and away from Overbay. Had him well out in front.
Breaking ball, strike 1 on Wells. Wells grounded out in the 2nd inning and then drew a walk to lead off the Jays half of the 4th. He came around to score on the base hit by Chavez. Here's the 1-1, and he gets under it, popping it up. Second baseman Cano is there, and that's the 2nd out. Hey, we'd like to wish a happy belated 50th birthday tonight to Ken Jackson. And Ken is watching out in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. There is an extensive Blue Jay fan base out in Victoria, as we learned when we made our lone trip to Seattle this year. Had a great time with the folks from that fine city. As there's Randy Ruiz swinging and missing at the offering from Aceves, and Ruiz is 0 for 2. There goes Ruiz, gone quickly on the foul tip, and it's a 1-2-3 5th. 5 in the books here in Toronto, 7-3 New York. sitting down in the lower sections and parts of the upper deck. And the Yankees enjoy a 7-3 lead as they face reliever Brandon League. I'm Jamie Campbell with Rance Mulliniks and Sam Cosentino. We'll have all four in this series for you on Rogers Sportsnet, including tomorrow night's game. Roy Halladay is on the hill. He'll face Jabba Chamberlain. And then the Minnesota Twins come in on Monday, and they play a 4-game series as well. And the Twins are desperate for victories as they try and catch up to the Detroit Tigers, who lead the American League Central by 4.5 games. Brandon League sees this one parked in the seats beyond the Blue Jays dugout, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. League has sort of succeeded Justin Miller as the most tattooed Blue Jay. And he deals the 1-2 well off the plate.
You'd have to go some to out tattoo Brandon League.
Have you ever seen Justin Miller?
No, I haven't.
I think he's pitching with San Francisco now. In fact, as I recall, when he was with the Blue Jays a brief time, they made him wear long sleeves to hide all of his tattoos. Clearly, they're not asking Brandon League to do that. He seems to get a new one every series. As that is roped to right center field, and a base hit for Cabrera. Snyder plays it off the base of the wall. Cabrera puts on the brakes just past second. And lo and behold, the Yankees have an extra base hit. That's their first of this ball game.
Well, again, Brandon League had him down 1-2, tried to go with back-to-back split fingers to finish him off. They weren't close, couldn't entice him to chase anything. 3-2, got to go back to the fastball, and it gets hit.
So here comes Derek Jeter again, and perhaps he'll have better luck against Brandon League. He was 0 for 3 against Romero. Ball 1. Jeter in his career has 256 hits against the Blue Jays.
Second behind
Robin Yount. That's a lot of hits.
Against anybody. That's a lot of hits.
As he bunts this one, it bounces. Chavez better hurry, and does. Gets Jeter by a step. And there may have been a little mix-up there, Rance, as to who was going to grab that baseball.
Well, it looked initially as if Brandon League was going to field it. He backed off at the last moment. That made it a tough play for Chavez. Ball had a little funny spin. You see there, it had to move back towards Chavez. And fortunately for him and the Jays, he was able to make the play. Chavez initially, if he goes after it all out and runs League off, it's going to be an easy play. But as it turned out, bang bang at first base. Of course, I'm not faulting Chavez because he initially thought that League was going to make the play.
So Cabrera now is at third base. Here's Johnny Damon.
That also tells you that Derek Jeter is not comfortable at the plate this evening. He struck out twice. That situation to move that runner over to third. He wasn't even going to attempt to try to hit the ball the right side. And this is a guy who handles the bat about as well as anybody in baseball, especially taking the ball the other way. Just decided, I'm going to go ahead and lay this ball, bunt the ball, and move the runner. Not take any chances on failing to advance Melky Cabrera over to third with nobody out. But that tells you the mindset of a Derek Jeter. He plays to win, and he does what it takes to win. That situation, did his job.
Brings the infield in as League prepares for the 1-1. Here it comes to Damon, and it's taken foul. All four Blue Jay infielders were right up at the line on that pitch to Damon.
Well, at this point, they can't afford to give up any more. You're down 4, so you're forced to play the infield in and try to cut the runoff at the plate. And Cabrera off a third runs very well.
1-2 and away from Damon. He's tagged out there by Chavez, who keeps an eye on Cabrera. And so Damon is the second out. And they will leave it up to the man who has been driving in runs for the Yankees all season long, Mark Teixeira.
And that last pitch to Johnny Damon was that split finger fastball. And Brandon League at times has one that is unhittable. And if he can get it close enough to the plate and the strike zone, as hard as he throws, he'll get hitters to chase it often.
Teixeira looks at the first pitch, and it's a strike. Tonight he is 1 for 2, scoring twice. He singled and scored in the first, grounded out in the third, walked and scored in the 5th inning. Oh, 0-2. The Yankees tonight are 5 for 9 with runners in scoring position. League is in control here as he gets the roller foul. Teixeira has now amassed at least 30 home runs and at least 100 runs driven in for the 6th straight season. Among active players, only Albert Pujols can make that claim. Two-strike pitch, and he got him. Boy, you could tell that Teixeira was fooled on that one. He's down on strikes as they leave Cabrera at third. Contestant wins a 40-inch Sharp Aquos LCD TV with LED backlight. The innovators of LCD TV now bring you their best picture yet. Aquos LED, the evolution of LCD TV continues. To enter and find out more, please visit hitahomerunwithsharp.ca. The 7, 8, and 9 hitters will bat for the Blue Jays here in the 6th inning against Alfredo Aceves. Beginning with Travis Snider. Aceves replaced Chad Godin with 2 out of the 4th, and he has set down 4 in a row, getting the side in the 5th in order. Snider blooped a single in his last at bat, and he's 1 for 1. He was hit in the toe in the 2nd inning and has reached base on 2 occasions, scoring once.
You know, Aceves, you can see what makes him effective. Now, he's not overpowering, doesn't throw all that hard. You know, he pitch around 89, 90, probably sets around 88 with his fastball, but very good command of a curveball and a changeup to go with it, and throws strikes.
This one is popped straight up, and it drifts over near the Blue Jays dugout. Posada goes out there, and it's into the camera well.
He has now in this ball game thrown 18 pitches, 13 of those pitches for strikes.
Nothing new to the Blue Jays, too. He put on a terrific performance against them in early July when he saved a victory, a 10-8 win for the Yankees, pitching 4 innings of 1-hit baseball. They struck out 5.
And when you have very good command, what that allows you to do, let's say you throw a curveball that's just kind of down and out of the strike zone and the hitter swings at it. You say, okay, if he's going to swing at it, let me throw it again in the same spot.
This is yanked to right field and foul.
And see if he will chase it again. So command obviously can help you get ahead by throwing strikes in the strike zone to both sides of the plate. But when you realize a guy chase a pitch that's a little bit, you know, maybe 4 inches off the plate outside, that command allows you to double up and even triple up out there. And as long as he keeps swinging at it, you keep going to it. Assuming, of course, all that made any sense at all.
It made complete sense. Here's the 3-2. Tried to get a fastball by Snider.
Roy Halladay, he's the type of pitcher, when he's on top of his game, he has the ability to do that. He sees you swing at that ball a little bit off the plate, he'll throw it right there again.
Hard hit, and this one is a gapper for Travis Snider. Cabrera's over at the wall, and he picks it up, and now Snider stops at second. So it's nice to see the young man from Mill Creek, Washington, really bust out of about a 4 or 5 game slump, really.
He had some pretty good swings in last night's game, and here he gets a fastball out over the plate and drives it to right center. And I thought for a moment he might try to stretch this into a triple, and if he had done that, he was going to be a dead duck at third base. And of course, in this situation, the last thing you want to do is making out at third base, but he wisely pulled up at second with a double.
Here's Bautista, and that is a strike. Now the question is, did that one, well, I guess not. I guess it sounded as if it might have hit Bautista's bat, but it just simply got away from Posada. So now Snider's at third on a passed ball. Grounded to third, and that keeps Snider there. 1 out. Let's bring in Sam.
Well, guys, with Travis Snider leading off that inning with a double, Cito Gaston said there's a couple of things they're working on him with. Getting started on time is being one that seems to be a recurring problem. Stopping and starting the hands, the Blue Jays are trying to find that continuum with him so he doesn't stop and start the hands. And the last thing was an adjustment they made earlier today was lowering his hands a little bit. And on base 3 times here today. That's the constant battle that the young hitter struggles with throughout the course of all this playing time he's getting right now.
2 for 2 tonight with a single and a double, and he's up there at third base as Raul Chavez hits, and he's 2 for 2 as well. And he rips this one to center field. And what a night for Chavez. His 3rd hit of the game drives home Snyder. Chavez with his 2nd double. And the Blue Jays are back on the board. It's now 7-4 New York.
Chavez has been aggressive all night, and it's really paid off for him. See Cabrera shading slightly to pull and unable to run the ball down. And Chavez is, as you mentioned, Jamie, he's having himself quite the night offensively.
So here's Scudero again. And that's ball 1. Aceves with the pitch. 2-0. Joe Girardi is really leaning on Aceves to chew up some innings here after Chad Godin went to 3 2/3. They do not have anybody up and throwing in the Yankee bullpen.
And next in line for them to close this game out, should they get the 8th or 9th inning, would normally be Hughes, because Rivera has a little bit of a growing problem. He's tweaked it just a little bit, so he's not available tonight. But Phil Hughes worked in last night's ball game, and Joe Girardi at least has said he will not use him in this game tonight. So the bullpen a little thin this evening for the Yankees.
They were engaged in a tight game last night with the Baltimore Orioles that was 3-2 in favor of New York until the 9th inning, when they exploded for 7 runs. And the result was a 10-2 final. Scudero awaits the 3-1. Here it comes, and it's muscled foul. Just a note on Raul Chavez, who's up at second base. He's got a 3-hit game, and he does that for the 5th time in his career. The last time he had a 3-hit game was way back on the 22nd of April, 2005, when he was a member of the Houston Astros. He did that in St. Louis. There's the payoff to Scudero. So he'll try again here against Alfredo Aceves, who finally hits a rough patch. He retired the first 4, but gave up a leadoff double to Snyder. Chavez brought home Snyder with a double of his own. Something is going on here in the building. Way up above the Yankee dugout, and it's caught the attention of the Yankee players themselves. Let's go down and bring in Sam Cosentino.
Well, Jamie, a foul ball off the bat of Scudero landed in a fan's hand. He picked it up and immediately threw it back out onto the field, almost hitting Aceves. And so the big commotion was with the Yankees players coming out of the dugout to make sure their players are safe, wanting to make sure that that fan was taken care of.
Fair ball here as it scoots into foul territory down the left field line. Chavez comes home, and that one took a bad bounce right in front of Alex Rodriguez, and the result is a second run in the inning for the Blue Jays. It's now 7-5.
Well, we'll see how we'll score it. It wasn't an easy play, but again, a play that Alex Rodriguez should have made. The ball was not hit hard. He got over it and positioned himself to get a short hop, one that should be easy to handle. You see him move over a little bit, and right here he just clanks it. Just brings the glove up too soon. That's a play he's got to make.
And he is charged with an error, a two-base error, as Scudero finds his way to second. And so suddenly, here in the sixth inning, you've got Aaron Hill at the plate, just one away. And he takes strike one. Scudero up at second. 2 runs have scored, and the Yankee lead is only 2. Pitch is inside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And you know, oftentimes when you're playing at home, that would have been scored a base hit. But for me, and you could make the argument that maybe Scudero would have beaten it out because it probably would have been close. But for me, I can't disagree with that call. Major League third baseman has to make that
Makes
play.
that play. There's the 1-1, and that's well off the plate. Perhaps Aceves is a little rattled after, as Sam reported, some fan up behind the Yankee dugout chucked a foul ball back out onto the field and narrowly missed the pitcher.
And that's
unfortunate.
That's just wrong.
There's the 2-1, and that's shot foul. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Hill.
But again, you have to admire the Jays. You know, we've talked about the last road trip was a bad one, and they didn't play well in those last 3 ball games in Texas. They got down here early. They've been down a couple of times. They're down 4-0 and down 7-3, and they've battled back again and gotten themselves right back in this ball game 7-5.
The 2-2 now, and that's a hanging breaking ball fouled once again by Hill.
The key for the Jays in this ball game right now, assuming even if they don't score again in this inning, is they have got to get 3 shutdown innings the rest of the way, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and give themselves a chance to win this ball game. If they can do that, if the bullpen can hold this Yankee ball club scoreless the rest of the way, the Jays, I think, have a good chance to come back and win this game. But that's going to be the key.
Well, they have Sean Camp up and throwing in the bullpen. We've already seen Brandon Lee go an inning and 2/3. There's Jonathan Albaladeo, who was most recently added to the Yankee roster, so he starts to throw. Neither starter lasted long. Chad Godin for the Yankees, 3 2/3. Toronto's Ricky Romero, 4 1/3. Gene Tennis watching on with interest here as Hill continues to battle Aceves. Scudero on the error stands at second. And the pitch is inside on Hill.
He just got a piece of it.
Boy, did he ever.
And quite honestly, I don't understand. I know he has his reasons, and I'm sure it's a good one, but I don't understand why Posada is going out to the mound unless that ball caught him. No, it hit out there in the webbing, so I don't think it You know, once in a while a catcher catches one off that thumb or something of that nature, and he needs a little time to shake it off.
Hill's focused in on the pitch from Aceves, and here it is. He gets under it though and pops it into center field. Jeter backtracks and makes the grab. So Hill is finally retired, and he's out number 2 here in the 6th inning. Adam Lind is announced. Aceves struck him out in the 4th after coming in relief of Godin. And there was little question. Lind's first 2 times up, Godin wanted nothing to do with him.
They pitched him very carefully. Of course, he rightfully so. With, you look at the numbers, 91 RBIs. He also has 72 extra base hits. That's first in the AL coming into tonight's ball game, and second in the major leagues. So a dangerous hitter and a tough customer to deal with in this situation.
He smacks this to center field, but it's caught by Cabrera, and Lind lines out in the 6th inning, an inning in which the Blue Jays pick up 2 more. 7-5 New York. A 4-game series. Camp pitched in the doubleheader on Tuesday. Game number 2, he gave up a home run to Chris Davis in the 6th inning. So he comes in now and will make his 47th appearance of the year. Alex Rodriguez takes strike 1. He is 1 for 2 this evening with an RBI. Camp, a man with 2 quality pitches.
A sinker slider type pitcher. not overpowering. He has to keep the ball down in the strike zone and locate.
He gets A-Rod and makes quick work of him, in fact.
Well, they pitched him very well. First pitch, he took fastball for a strike. The next one ran in on his hands and really jammed him. And then a little slider out there in a perfect spot. And Rodriguez well out in front.
That brings up Hideki Matsui again. And Camp misses 1-0.
For me, there's no better, when you just talk about a professional hitter, than this man right here in this Yankee lineup and possibly around the league. He really knows how to hit. He has a plan. He knows he has the discipline to execute it. Good patience at the plate. And for me, with runners in scoring position, a dangerous hitter to pitch to.
Ground to do over Bay. He'll take it himself. And that's out number 2. Once again, let's bring in Sam Cosentino.
Jamie, I spoke to Sean Kemp today about what he wants to accomplish over the last month of the season. One thing he said he was going to try and do is throw more fastballs. He feels hitters are fatigued at this time of year, and it could become a little more effective than what he's normally used to throwing in terms of number of fastballs. The next thing he wants to do is become more consistent with the changeup. He's felt that adding the changeup this year has made him more effective against left-handed hitters, more so than at any other time in his career. So over the course of this next month, we can keep an eye on those two things.
Camp is eligible for arbitration again in 2010, so there's a great chance he'll be back in the Blue Jays bullpen next year. Sam mentioned that changeup. It is the one pitch he doesn't throw that often. But you see how effective Jason Frazier has been this year when he made a bid to add a third good pitch to his repertoire, and it's really paid off for him.
Well, it just gives you another pitch that you can go to. In the case of Sean Kemp, it helps him against left-handed hitters. And he tried to throw it there, 1-0 to Posada, in a fastball count.
There's the 3-1, and it's hit to center field. Wells in a sprint, and it gets beyond him up against the wall. Posada storms into second with a double. And the 7th inning, at least from a Yankees perspective, continues as Posada picks up their second extra base hit of the night.
And the third for Posada, but again, you get behind in the count, and you have to elevate the sinker just a little bit, and it flattens out and gets hit hard.
Double number 23 on the year for Posada, as Robinson Cano comes to the plate 0 for 3. He and Derek Jeter are the only Yankees not to reach base tonight. Camp checks the runner. Here's the pitch, and this one is grounded down the right field side as well. out in the bullpen. There's David Robertson. One of 7 right-handers the Yankees have in the bullpen. They also have 3 left-handed pitchers, and that is the benefit of September play. You get to expand your roster, add more arms, and the Yankees are no different. 2 strikes on Cano with Posada at second, 2 out, and there is a strikeout pitch. He got him, and Camp walks off after setting down Cano and leaving Posada at second. One batters and made his 40th appearance of the year in Tuesday's win in Baltimore. So quietly, Robertson has been a nice surprise for the Yankees out of the bullpen. A guy who was drafted in the 17th round in the amateur draft of 2006. In the bottom of the 7th inning, he'll see Lyle Overbay and then Vernon Wells and Randy Ruiz as we send out a happy 79th birthday to a longtime Blue Jay fan, Bob Morris. And Bob is watching from East York, Ontario. Overbay is 0 for 3. Vernon Wells behind him 0 for 2. Randy Ruiz 0 for 3. So this part of the order is due for a base hit as Robertson goes high with ball 1. Tomorrow night, Roy Halladay's on the mound. He'll be opposed by Jabba Chamberlain. First pitch is shortly after 7 Eastern time. We'll have it for you on Rogers Sportsnet. And then weekend games on Saturday and Sunday, both at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Andy Pettit against Brett Cecil on Saturday. Brian Tallett takes the ball again on Sunday. He'll face Sergio Mitre in the 4th and final game of this series. The Yankees so far this year have 9 wins in 12 games played against the Jays, as Overbay goes after the high fastball 1 and 2.
You'd think Robertson, with all those strikeouts, would be a guy that throws 96, 97. Doesn't throw that hard. He sets it right around 90, 91, but a very good overhand curveball. Seen him get a number of strikeouts with that pitch, and there you get a look at it.
Overbay is unable to check his swing. He's gone and is 0 for 4. these are the type of players that really add to the success of a franchise. When you can find a late round draft pick, someone who, like Robertson, was taken in the 17th round, and in short time he can get himself to the big leagues and pitch like he's pitching this year. It's an added bonus to a team like the Yankees, who goes out and spends millions on people like Sabathia and Burnett.
It's when a 17th round pick ends up in the big leagues, it is definitely a bonus. But it's a great example. You never know how a young player is going to develop out. You know, he's probably gotten bigger and stronger. Probably when he was drafted, he's, you know, probably right around between 86 and 88 with the fastball. And as he got stronger and filled out, a little more velocity, gets up to where he can pitch around 90, 91. And that also makes that curveball start to have a lot harder, sharper break. The one thing for a hitter when you face Robertson, the one you can pick one or the other. You can look fastball or you can sit on the curveball, because he does a nice job of mixing them up. So you're going to get, you know, if you're looking fastball, you're going to get one. You're going to see a fastball. If you're looking curveball, you're going to see one of those also. So you can kind of take the guesswork out of it. But you just have to be decisive and stay with it.
That's roped to right field. Swisher on the run. And he brings it down in the corner. Wells flies out. Remember, fans, you can watch the rest of the regular season online with MLB.tv for only $19.95. And in fact, you can enjoy live baseball on your iPhone or iPod Touch with MLB At Bat app. For information, go to BlueJays.com, where baseball is always on. Here's Ruiz again, 0 for 3. He struck out his last 2 times up and takes that one in the shoulder. The Yankees tonight have hit 3 batters: Snyder, Bautista, and now Ruiz.
Well, that's just a bad miss with the curveball. Try to get it down and away, and hits Ruiz off the shoulder.
It gives Travis Snyder a chance to hit with a man on here. And Snyder has had a very productive night with a pair of hits, a single and a double. He's scored twice. Judging by the smattering of dirt on his pants, you can tell he's been quite active in the game tonight. At the very least, the 2 hits might make him feel a little better about the error he committed in the first inning, when Hideki Matsui drove a ball to right field. It went right under Snyder's glove, rolled out to the wall. 2 men came in to score. Initially, the official score gave Matsui 2 RBIs on the play. They've changed that. There's now only a single RBI on that 2-base error as Posada throws the mask, but Ruiz does not break from first.
As you are well aware of, Jamie, I'm an assistant coach with a junior college baseball program. And we have a young man that played for us a few years ago that pitches in the Yankees farm system. He was one of those guys that wasn't a high draft pick, but a good arm. You never know, he might develop out. His name's Grant Duff.
You know what level he's at?
Last year he pitched in Tampa. I'm not sure where he's at right now.
Tampa of the Florida State League.
Yes, in the Florida State League.
Which is considered high A.
Yes.
Two and two, and that has got to be a tough pitch to lay off.
Now, sometimes you just can't pull the trigger as a hitter because you're completely fooled by a pitch. I'm not sure that was the case with Snyder. Maybe he saw it well and realized it was just off the plate outside, but you're right, a tough pitch to take.
Here's the payoff, breaking ball, strike three, and he got him looking with that curveball.
To see the Jays in comfort. TD Canada Trust, putting you in the comfort zone.
The Jays on Rogers Sportsnet, brought to you by Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners.
From the Lakeshore, there's beautiful downtown Toronto, where the Blue Jays play their home games at the Rogers Center, a wonderful facility for baseball. Right now, the visiting Yankees have a 7-5 lead, as Nick Swisher seems a little disenchanted with strike one from Sean Kemp. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Jamie Campbell with Rance Mulliniks and Sam Cosentino, as Swisher's now a little more irritated with strike two. He'll get out of the batter's box and reset.
Well, Swisher has a reputation for having a very good eye at the plate. He's walked 80 times, at least coming into this ball game tonight on the season. The first pitch, I think he definitely thought was a little high.
That one is rolled to the right side. Hill stumbles, and it's scooped by Overbay at first. Wasn't necessarily pretty, Rance, but it worked out beautifully.
Well, a nice play. Took a great angle. Watch the angle that Hill takes. That allowed him to get to the ball, and then he had turn, quick snap throw, and a nice play on the back end by Lyle Overbay to dig it out. He's been outstanding defensively. Definitely should get a lot of consideration should Aaron Hill, as far as the Gold Glove votes go.
Here's a bouncer up the middle. Hill gets to it, and once again Overbay has to dig it out, but the two combine for out number two.
Hill going the other way this time, ranging to his right. You could see he thought Cabrera might bunt the way he was closing in. makes the play, but this is an easier hop to handle because it's the big long hop that hit out there on that AstroTurf. That's a lot easier play for a first baseman.
And with Overbay over there at first, Hill must know that he doesn't have to make that perfect at the letters throw.
Just, again, get it somewhere in an area where the first baseman has a chance to make a play for you and help you out. But that double play that Aaron Hill and John McDonald combined for last night in Texas. Of course, John McDonald has just kind of turned into a highlight reel all in himself. It seems like every time he gets the opportunity to play, he makes just an incredible defensive play.
Here's Jeter. Here's Scudero. And that's a quick inning for Sean Camp. Top of the 8th comes to an end. For the Jays, Bautista, Chavez, and Scudero coming to the plate. It well, and you can chat with him online, believe it or not, on Tuesday between 2 o'clock Eastern time and 2:45. Chat with Kevin Millar. For more information on how to get involved, please look at BlueJays.com. $22,773 is the paid attendance tonight at Rogers Center, as right-hander Brian Bruni is on here in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Yankees went quickly in the top of the inning, 1, 2, and 3 at the hands of Sean Camp. Bruni faces Jose Bautista, who takes strike one. It's 1-1.
Well, Bruni with a good arm, but struggles with lack of controls. 29 and 2/3 innings of work, 17 walks issued.
He pitched last night in Baltimore, has allowed just an earned run over his last 9 appearances. And essentially has been replaced as the setup man to Mariano Rivera due to the exceptional work of Phil Hughes. As Bautista blasts this to center field, but Cabrera sees it, flags it down, and that's the first out. So even though he hits it hard, Bautista's woes continue. The man behind him in the order, though, Raul Chavez, is 3 for 3. He has never had a 4-hit game in the major leagues. Here's his chance with 1 out in the 8th inning. Strike 1. Strike two.
And that's a nasty slider at about 90 miles an hour. That in that location, it's unhittable. Either a slider or a cutter with a lot of movement. Either way, tough to deal with if you're a hitter.
Two and two.
Well, it looked like
That looked like
Scott Berry, the home plate umpire, flinched just momentarily like he was going to ring Chavez up.
Bruni slowly brings that ball into the mitt. And then fires on the 2-2, and he gets him away. Cutter, slider, whatever that might have been, it fooled Chavez.
It is nasty, and he throws it very hard. I think that's a slider.
Marco Scudero then checks his swing. 1 ball, no strikes. An 8th inning lead for the Yankees, 7-5. As Jason Frazier has been throwing in the bullpen. The Blue Jays got in so late from Texas early this morning that they were told they did not have to show up for batting practice. Some of them may have come early and hit in the cage, but there was no actual batting practice prior to the game.
Batting practice at times can be overrated. You say it's a hitter's getting his timing. Well, how do you do that when you're facing coaches throwing about 70 miles an hour and you're going to go into the game and all of a sudden now it's up to 90, 91, 92? You know, it's a chance to loosen up, get things flowing a little bit. You know, maybe work on something that you need to work on. But from the standpoint of timing, probably really doesn't have much to do with that.
Scudero hits this to right. And Swisher is there to make the play as Bruni comes in and gets a 1-2-3-8. We're off to the 9th inning after this. will not be headed for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Martin Guyard and Mike Toth will have the story for you. Keep you apprised of games elsewhere, including the Boston Red Sox, who are involved right now in a game with the Tampa Bay Rays. Jason Frazier is the pitcher now here in the 9th inning. He'll face the 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Frazier hasn't worked since Monday night's 18-10 victory. What a night that was, when the Blue Jays had to hang on after jumping out to an 11-0 lead. And then they went about scoring 7 runs in the 9th inning. Ball 1 to Johnny Damon. We encourage you to join us for game 2 tomorrow night. That pits Roy Halladay against Jabba Chamberlain. And Jays Connected takes the air at 6:30 Eastern Time, a half hour ahead of first pitch. Strike 1.
Jason Frazier has allowed a run in just 5 of the 49 games that he has pitched in this year. So he has had an outstanding season for the Blue Jays and is now really the closer for the ball club. Of course, this is not a safe situation, but not a big man, but an outstanding arm. Throws very hard. Good fastball, hard slider, and split.
Great breaking stuff, too. We just got Johnny Damon to strike out, and that brings us to the at-home play of the game presented by Burger King, home of the Whopper. And this was way back in the 1st inning. And watch what happens here. Right under the glove of Travis Snyder, Teixeira races home. Damon came in ahead of him. Rodriguez followed. And that stands as the play of the game. And remember, visit BlueJays.com to register for a chance to win prizes with the Burger King Superfan Contest. One down for Mark Teixeira. 1 ball, no strikes. And now a strike evens the count. Frazier's made quite a leap. He went from a guy last year who wasn't really pitching critical innings to, as you say, at this point, first man out of the pen in a save situation. And Cito Gaston addressed looking ahead to 2010 and basically dismissed any thought that the Blue Jays would go out and try and acquire a closer. They will essentially stage an audition, and you can bet that Jason Frazier will have the upper hand.
And you have the luxury, too. You can always fall back to Mr. Reliable. Scotty Downs, who's been a setup man. He's been a closer. He's actually at one time started for the ball club a few years ago. So it's nice to have him around to know that if somebody else not quite working out, you can always give the ball to that man right there.
That's fouled back. A lefty-righty setup to closer situation seems to work well for the Texas Rangers.
It works very well for them this year. So, you know, ideally you would like to have that one guy that you go to that is night in, night out, your closer, but it's always nice to have someone else to be able to fall back on. A lot of clubs don't have that. You can never have enough pitching depth. That's just, and that's true for everyone.
Strike three. Frazier gets Teixeira looking. That's a head shaker. And off he goes as Alex Rodriguez makes his way to the plate.
Now this is just great location. Teixeira, by his reaction, clearly thought the ball was a little down.
That pitch is low. 1-0 now on Alex Rodriguez. When we were in New York a couple of weeks back, there was a large article in one of the papers stating how his game has improved dramatically. His numbers have been on the rise ever since he started dating Kate Hudson. And he laces this one to left field, and that's out of here. A rope of a home run for A-Rod, his 24th of the year, and it extends New York's lead. That's his 50th career against the Blue Jays.
And the first pitch was a fastball in that missed. And they try to go back to the same spot, and it's a good pitch, but you almost sense that A-Rod was looking for that pitch, the fastball in, and is able to turn on it and drive it out of the ballpark.
On the career list, that one counts as number 577. He's 9th all time. And he's only 6 behind 8th place Mark McGwire now. The Yankees already have 6 players with at least 20 home runs this year. And when Jorge Posada hits one more, they'll have 7. And if Derek Jeter can hit 3 more, they'll have 8. And that's incredible. The major league record is shared by 3 teams. And that record is 7 players with 20+ home runs. In fact, one of those teams was the 2000 Blue Jays. That year, the Blue Jays had Carlos Delgado hit 41. They had Brad Fulmer, Jose Cruz Jr., Tony Batista had 41 home runs, Raul Mondesi, Shannon Stewart, and one other guy who came in right at 20. None other than analyst Darren Fletcher. Ball 4. So after giving up the home run, Frazier walks Matsui. Commentator clothing is provided in part by Z Zenya. Statistical information provided by Stats Inc. There's a pinch runner now at first for Matsui. There's Jerry Hairston Jr. Tapping the plate is Posada. As mentioned, one more home run for Posada, and the Yankees will tie those three other clubs, the 2000 Jays, the 2005 Rangers, and the 96 Orioles, as the only teams in big league history with 7 players who have at least 20 home runs. 8-5 in favor of the Yankees. Top of the 9th, 2 out. Snap throw down to first, and Hairston is back. Belted right field, and this will do it. You could kiss that one goodbye. They have now tied the record. 7 players with at least 20 home runs, because that is number 20 for Jorge Posada. If A-Rod's was a wall scraper, Posada's was a missile.
This one was a no-doubter. Fastball looked like it's up, out over the plate, just about bell tie. And that really needs no description.
And that really breaks things open here in the 9th inning. 3 more runs for the New York Yankees, and their lead is 5. A handful of people had left prior to the 9th inning, and now they're streaming out, as this one seems well in hand.
And Frazier started this inning so well. He struck out Johnny Damon, struck out Teixeira, and then since that, those first 2 at bats, he has all of a sudden lost command. He's obviously made a couple of mistakes, and now he's 3-2 to Cano.
And he just lost him. Ball 4. You're bang on. He struck out the first 2, gave up the home run to Rodriguez, a walk to Matsui, a home run to Posada. He walks Cano. Hence the long face from the manager. And Cito Gaston didn't want to have to get anybody up, but there is Dirk Hayhurst.
He's been up for a while now. He's probably ready to come into the ball game if the Jays need him.
Wow, that is airmail at its finest. And so Cano goes to second.
What was it they said? Major League, just a bit outside.
Well, at least Cito can smile. Jason Frazier certainly is not.
That almost looked like he was taking an attempt to hit the bull, the Durham Bull. He got smoked in the head.
Yep. That's two separate movie references, Rance. And there's a strike.
However, one was on purpose, the other one wasn't.
A cut from Swisher, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. This has turned into a forgettable inning of work for Jason Frazier, who has surrendered 3 runs on 2 home runs. He's got Cano up at second after the wild pitch, but 2 strikes on Nick Swisher. In the bottom of the inning, the Blue Jays will bring up Aaron Hill, Adam Lind, and Lyle Overbay. 10-5 New York, grounded to Overbay. And it will be a 5-run lead for the Yankees in the bottom half of the inning. You're watching Blue Jays baseball on Rogers Sportsnet. First it was Rodriguez with a wall scraper in left, and then Posada's 20th, and there was no doubt about this one. 10. Of the games tomorrow or Saturday, one lucky fan in attendance wins $1 million in the Erickson Triple Play Challenge. Erickson will also donate $1 million to the Jays Care Foundation. So keep that in mind if you're going to join us at the ballpark either tomorrow night or Saturday afternoon. For tickets, you can look at BlueJays.com. Most Rogers Plus locations have them as well. We have finally reached the bottom of the 9th inning here in a lengthy affair between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. New York leads it 10-5. The batter is Aaron Hill, as Brian Bruni is in a safe situation here. He walks the leadoff man, Hill. And that walk would have looked a whole lot more impressive if the Yankees hadn't have scored 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning. But you see Joe Girardi. He's going to go to his left-hander, Damaso Marte. So Bruni's night now comes to an end, and in walks Marte. Effective, although this year he's been missing for a great amount of time. He missed 98 games with left shoulder inflammation and was most recently activated from the disabled list. So the Yankees are happy to have him, and in front of a sparse gathering, 22,000 and change made it to the ballpark for the opening pitch, but many of them have left here as the Yankees have opened up a 5-run lead on the Blue Jays, and we're in the bottom of the 9th inning. Adam Lind is 0 for 2. He's walked a couple of times, struck out once, lined out to center field. Aaron Hill is the runner at first after walking against Bruni to lead off the 9th.
Well, Marte in pretty good arm, sit around 90 miles an hour, but his out pitch to left-handers is a big sweeping breaking pitch, and when he's throwing the ball well, he has a very good one. Goes down and away with a lot of movement.
This is grounded to Cano. He has one play, and that's the first to get Lind. Yankees are just looking for outs now. And Lyle Overbay gets a chance to bat. He's 0 for 4. Although now they go to the pinch hitter as Kevin Millar comes off the bench. Millar pops it up. And it comes straight back and out of play.
And this is, again, a situation with a 5-run lead. 3-1, you have to challenge the hitter. Just like that. Go right at him. No one gets a free pass at this point in the ball game.
And so on 3-2, he gets strike 3 called. Millar is gone. And the Yankees are now 1 out away from putting this one to bed. Strike 1 to Wells, who was 0 for 3. The production for the Blue Jays tonight has come from the bottom of the order. Snyder had a pair of hits. Chavez, their best hitter on the evening, he had 3 hits and 2 RBIs. But you don't win in many ball games in this division, Rance, without help from the middle of the order. And neither Lind, Overbay, or Wells had a base hit in the ball game. Wells with a chance here. It's 1-2. Here's Posada with his about his 5th visit to the mound tonight. These Yankees, when they beat you, they take their sweet time in doing it, don't they? One ball, 2 strikes.
They don't seem to be in a hurry.
Nope. Swing and a miss. That's the game. It comes to an end on the strikeout by Wells as the Yankees win the opener 10-5. For Rents Mullenix, Sam Cosentino, and Scott Carson, and our entire Sportsnet crew, I'm Jamie Campbell. Let's go off now to Sportsnet Connected.